Hello, oh, Splinter Snake here, coming at you with another very quick little mid-custom review. I know it's not the norm, but I wanted to get something out there, and I had a bit of a weird day yesterday. I came upstairs to do the review of my custom Sandman, this guy, which some of you guys would have been seeing on my Facebook group. For those of you who haven't, yeah, I'm going to do a review for him in a bit. Had to actually finish off painting his extra hands, just never got around to it. So I'm going to do them, and then I'm going to do a review on, like I said, on this guy. While I was up here, I stumbled over my box of Spider-Man fodder. I had to move it to get some stuff out of the way. And I just had this random thought of what might make a really good Tobey Maguire Spider-Man figure. So I made it. Wasn't planned, wasn't anything, just kind of went, this might work, and then presto change, boom. Here we have what I think might be one of the best Spider-Man figures, well, best looking representations of Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I haven't painted it yet. I will do a paint job eventually. It was just initially just to try and see if this works. There was a lot of trial and error in it, and yeah, it was quite crazy how well it spun off and how well it went together. Not much to doing it once you know what you're doing. So let me stand him up and let's get a better look at him. Okay, so here we have the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Now this is basically comprised of two figures. You've got, I don't know really where to begin. Okay, so the shoulders to here and the hips from here to the ankles are from the first appearance Spider-Man. One of these. This was the Spider-Man that came out with the first movie. As you can see, you should recognise them. Now, I've chosen these because I think the arms, they're a better build, and I like the shoulders on these, that they're curved over. So from a side view, it looks better than... Stay standing. And the one that came out with the second movie. This is my custom painted Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man from Spider-Man 2. I've not really done anything apart from painting this figure and glued some joints below because I was an idiot and that's what I used to like back in that day. But yeah, these... Wow, just didn't like that, did he? But yeah, these shoulder ball joints, they're quite ugly. I mean, yeah, you don't get as much range from these ones, but I think they look a lot more natural than these ball joints. And the weird thing is these kind of gloves, they're long, different sizes, which I think is very strange. So yeah, that's where the shoulders, the arms and the legs basically came from. The head, the torso, the abdomen, the crutch, the hands and the feet came from, like, I don't know what it's called, I will look it up. Actually, I don't actually have a complete one of the other one because I used the first one I had to make a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man previously, because I really like these hips because they look nice, so they look like these, and back then I didn't like hip cuts, so these were perfect because I don't have any hip rotation. Now my taste has changed and I do actually like them, which is why I've gone for these. So these were initially in there, so basically what I had to do was crack open the crutch and take these out and put them in. You think it's that simple, it really wasn't. Had to basically trim down the actual hole in the crutch and sand down the peg going in, and also sand down the ends of each peg. So these bits, sand them down, but also add a bit of glue afterwards so they had a bit of traction so they weren't really loose. There is a bit of plastic that goes in between these two, and that's still in there, so it does still hold. And I managed to get it done really well, really tight, and it looks okay. The ankles, so to get sidetracked basically, so yeah, so the feet, the hands, torso upwards is from the Battle Attack Spider-Man figure. Now originally I got that figure for the Doc Ock background because of the tentacles. They were superposable, and that's what I use on my this guy, and that's what I've used on this guy. That's why his tentacles are so long, because he's got two custom tentacles in there from that figure, because they're just basically bendy and you can bend them whichever way you want. Whereas the ones that were attached originally were bendy, but they had string gimmicks, so when you pull the lever on his back, they kind of close down. So the figure's got the gimmick with the closed back, hence he's got that like marker back there. I know it's really messy, but I wanted them to be on there firm as they kept popping off with the super glue, so that's why I've used hot glue. I think I will paint them to try and match the coat, so then they'll look a bit more like a torn clove. So yeah, as you can see, he's got a bit of problem with standing. Now what I had to do with the ankles was I initially unpegged basically I just took off the foot, heated it up, popped it off, and then I tried putting this on. But the peg that's there, it's really thick, and the peg that's on this is really thin, and I just couldn't get it on. And when I really tried hard, I think it was this one, the sole kind of popped off, and it just had no movement whatsoever. So instead, I swapped out the pegs. So I heated up the ankle, and then popped the peg out, put this new joint in, and then heat up. Now this is the peg from this ankle, because the one from this foot, not making much sense. So this is the peg that's in there is from this actual leg. The one from the foot was too wide and it stuck out loads, and it was a bit more narrow, so I was a bit worried about popping out. But as you can see, he's got full motion there, and it looks really good. Now the shoulders, I've tried something a bit interesting. Let me get the other one. Okay, so I don't know if you can tell. You see how that moves? Basically how it works is there's a peg that goes in there, and at the end of the peg there's a screw with a spring attached, and then there's a disc that's floating. So that's what allows the arm to have a bit more play in it. I don't know why they've chosen to do that. Maybe it's to try and decrease the paint rub on the webbing. Might work, I'm not too sure. What I did on these ones is I actually took the screw and the spring out, and I've glued the disc in place, and then I put hot glue outside it, so it's something firm that'll hold it, which also gives it traction, so the arms won't go floppy. So far, bit of hit and miss. Last night they popped out, so I had to crack the torso open, get the joint, glue it back into place, and then left it overnight, and I didn't touch it basically. And as you can see this morning, they're working fine. Now, you'll notice I have trimmed a little chunk out of it. It does kill the aesthetic look a little bit, which is what I was going for, but without it, the articulation was basically that. So with it, you get not considerably a lot more, but you do get a lot more. With which is fine, you know, that's doable for most Spider-Mans. So yeah, so I've managed to keep pretty much every aspect of the articulation, which I'm very proud of. The one thing I really don't like is with the wrist, you probably can't see it unless I zoom in. So let's do that so you guys can see all the nasty bits. So I had to actually cut. Once again, if I show you, you see from, I'm trying to hold them both one hand. Okay, so you see this hand has the peg or the joint going into the wrist, but this hand, don't know if you can really make that, the joint kind of goes into the hand. So I couldn't just do a simple peg swap for these, which is what I initially wanted to do. And yes, I did try swap them out the glove, but unfortunately the hole for this hand was way too big and it just kept popping off every time I moved. Exact same problem with the legs. So they just kept popping off, so that was no good. So yeah, I've had to cut it, and it kind of works. There's a little bit of a tail, especially there. This one's not too bad actually. You can't really tell on this one. I don't know if I'll epoxy it or anything to tidy it. I've kind of got away where I don't really need to epoxy or sculpt anything. It just needs a paint job to make all the colours match. So yeah, articulation. Head is on a ball disc, so I can go up that high and you can rotate there. But it's also on a ball joint in there, so it can rotate 360 degrees around in there. Put a little bit of glue in there to give it tightness because it was a bit loose. You got a little bit of a pivot there. No real pivot, but you can always go, what? Now as you saw, the shoulders can go up there, potentially potential to go higher, but I'm just worried about snapping it. I might actually crack this open and go back to the spring locks, and I don't have to worry about the glue coming off, because it's really annoying, to be honest. You got a bicep cut. No, it is just a straight cut. I don't mind it. On my first ever one of these, because apparently I've had 3 of these, which I don't really understand, is I did actually trim the bit there and a bit of the shoulder there, so it gave it a bit of a curve. So it actually just looked like a normal bicep. I don't think I'm going to be doing that. I'm not overly bothered by it, to be honest. Double jointed elbow. Glove rotation there. We've got wrist up. We've got wrist up apparently. We've got wrist down. We've got wrist up. And we have individual finger articulation, which I always kind of liked about these. Thought they were cool. Got an ab crunch. A really nice ab crunch. So I can go down that much and back that much. So really great for posing there. Waist rotation, 360 degrees there. It's kind of got a nice little bit of grip so it stays forward. T-cut hips, so you can do a Spartan of just that. And a split of that. Upper thigh rotation, 360 degrees there. Double jointed knee. Boot rotation, and can go from there to there. Little bit of pivot. Ideally I'd like more. I might swap this out for a proper pivot and see what I can get. And then we've got toe articulation. We go from there to there. And as for the late Glenn, as he used to say, this is why it starts with both his feet still standing flat on the ground. So yeah, that's my review. Like I said, just a quick one. I don't know if I'm actually going to get around to painting this guy. The paint scheme doesn't really bother me all that much, to be honest. And I mean, I will do it at some point. It's just I've got so many other projects. I'm not that bothered by it right now. It's just kind of a cool, kind of really random throw together I had yesterday. Wasn't planning it, wasn't expected, but boom. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, that's my quick little like mid-custom review. I hope you guys like this. Let me know what you guys think of it. Do you think it's like the most aesthetic? That's the word I couldn't say the other day. Do you think it is the most aesthetically, that's the word, isn't it? Do you think it's the most aesthetically looking Spider-Man? I'd like to know what you think. I really like it. I'm quite happy with it. I was kind of going to go away from the Spider-Man and just have the Civil War one as my movie Spider-Man, but I had an idea which kind of made me bring it back. So that's why I've done that. So like I said, I hope you guys did like this. If you did, let me know what you think about it down below. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'm going to catch you next one. And my God, do I miss my old desk. Look at this. This is as far back as I can to keep the blue in and keep his stupid hat in. But look, it's missing corners. Urgh. Gonna have to invest in something, I don't know. This is isn't working that well, is it? Anyway guys, thanks for watching. See ya.